So the rods are there, and the bivvy is all the way back up here. Again, it's not ideal. I'm a good 30 yards from the rods there. There's no snags, thankfully. I haven't lost any fish. So those are those two rods, and then I've got another couple of rods down here. One rod there, and you'll notice that it's high up on a tight line. There's a reason for that. I wanted to keep the line, it's fishing across to the far bank, I wanted to keep the line outside of the near margin on a tight line. It's fairly tight to the opposite bank, so there's a good chance that's going to be a drop back. So I wanted to keep the line taut, and I wanted to keep it outside of the near margin, because just up here we've got the last rod, and that is just getting fished just up this margin here. And you can see there's one last little back channel there leading out into the main lake. Okay, well, we're on the new swim. I got over here, it's only 200 yards from where I was before. Got over here at about 9 o'clock this morning, had one small mirror straight away, rolling out in the centre of the reserve. So I hit one, pushed one long, punched it about probably about 80 yards, followed by 30 24mm air dry baits. We've got a nice 36.5 pound common. Look at that for pristine beauty, mint condition carp. Steep here. Whoa. Let's get the rod back out. Got to watch out for these koi poo holes. The koi poo are these large beaver type creatures. Live on the grass, and they're not carnivores, they're herbivores. They live on the grass and the reeds and stuff. I think they're fairly harmless, although I have heard stories that little Jack Russell went down a hole and never came up again. It wouldn't surprise me, they've got pretty savage teeth. Right, it's Monday morning. Blank night. I'm sure there are some big carp in this area, but I think I'm going to struggle to get through these small ones. I've had to put two rods here. I've got them straight out into the central area. That's where I had the 36 common yesterday, and they were jumping. There's a gravel bar at about 50 yards, which comes up to about 5 foot, and just behind it you've got a lovely 8 to 10 foot sort of deeper area with there's probably about that much silt in it. It's firm, but it's lovely and smooth. At the moment there's no weed. Come June that'll be covered in weed. At the moment there's nothing on there, maybe a few little bits, but it's the bait's definitely presentable on it. I've snorkeled it before previous years, later on in the year, and I know the sort of weed which grows on most of this lake. It comes up once you get some sunny weather, and since we've hardly had any this year, blatantly obvious. 21 on the lookout, just to my left there. It's so obvious, but the rods are down low. I've been around there just to check if you can see the rods. You can't see the rods unless you've got a pair of binoculars, but you would be able to see me. It's first light, there's no one. They're pretty lazy in France. I don't think the garde de pêche comes out at least until 8 or 9 AM, and we're on about 6:45, 7. I'm gonna give it until I've got to charge the batteries. I've got to download all the footage and start all over again, and I've got to go to the shop. So I've got a good 2-3 hours of stuff to do today. And such a big water, it's just everything's a mission. Anyway, that'll do for now. Right, well, this is where I'm stashing the gear. The lake is behind me out there. I'm right in the back of some forests. I fished here last April, didn't catch anything, but found a good place to stash the gear. I've emptied my big bag out. I'm going to have a visit to the supermarket now. I didn't bring that much food with me, and with all this moving around you burn a lot of energy, and I'm going to go and stock up. The boat, if I just quickly pop down this fairly dangerous bank. And basically, the only way people, well, they could come from up there, but that's highly unlikely. It's difficult to get through the undergrowth. The batteries are probably the only obvious thing. I mean, it's not brilliantly hidden, but it does the job. I mean, if you're going to look around the lake, people couldn't see it from there, that's for sure. They're not going to be able to see it from the islands because there's no one on the islands. And over on the north bank there, that's the good 2 kilometres away. Well, probably 1 kilometre away. 1.5 maybe. So they ain't going to be able to see it from over there. And they're not going to be able to see it from those islands there. So it's been there for 3 days. All good so far. In terms of where I'm planning to fish, I baited yesterday just where that little fish topped out there now. So all up the side of this island here, you can see it's a northerly wind coming into this area. 3 nights on the reserve area. I think 12 or 13 carp, nothing over 42 pounds. So no originals. So I've got to move around and see if I can find them, because this morning I've not had anything from over in the reserve area, and there wasn't a lot showing. So I think they might have moved out in this colder weather into slightly deeper water. Right, let's go. Well, I was just about to ride off to the supermarket, get a load of stuff, get some supplies and get ready for another couple of nights. I've got a bloody puncher. I do have a spare inner tube with me, and I've got a screwdriver, so it's only a 20-minute job once I've wheeled this back to base camp, which is about a half an hour walk from here. It's only 10 minutes on the bike, but it's half an hour walking, possibly 40 minutes. So it kills your time when something like this happens. But anyway, I've got a spare inner tube, so I should be able to change it with not too many problems. It just means leaving the gear unattended for a bit longer, which I'd rather not do, but anyway, c'est la vie. The local supermarkets in France, nowhere near as efficient. They're about 10 years behind England. Queues a mile back. It takes an hour to get anything done here. Right, that's last of the 4 rods out. Might put a 5th out just along the margin here tonight once it's dark. I haven't decided yet. Anyway, I got the puncher fixed. Had a spare inner tube, got that on no problem. Only to find I'd left the pump for the bike here. So I've pegged it all the way back. It took me an extra hour and a half to come here. I came back with the bike, pumped the tyre up, all good. And then I went back. I've been to the shops as well. And I've got back. I'm back on the island area where I put some bait in. Unfortunately, I could see a few boilies. It didn't look like anywhere near as many as I put in, but there were a few on the shallower marks, which isn't a great sign at all. I don't know, it looked like some of it could have been eaten, but it's pretty much too late to move, and there's always a chance that they'll come in tonight. I mean, they're not going to come in every night and clear everything up, are they? So I'm not totally despondent. If I'd had time, I would have probably gone round to the other side of the island. But anyway, I've only put one rod on each side on the bait, and then found new spots a good sort of 60, 70 yards away. Even further out, you probably see just how little line I've got on the reel. That one's probably 350 out, and the others are a good 200 yards. It's a long way out. It's totally different fishing from the reserve area, but with this cold northerly wind, I wanted to be on the wind. It's coming into this area of the lake, and I wanted to be on slightly deeper marks. You've got a case to argue that open water would be a good bet in these conditions, but anyway, I know people have had results off the sides of these islands. I'm fishing best part of 10 metres off each island in about 8 foot of water on most rods. It's relatively uniform in this area. So I've got 2 out to this island here, which I'll show you in a sec. 2 out to this island here. One just on the point. This is the end of the island here. There's a channel that runs behind, and then one right up on the far point, which is a long way away. There's some lovely snag trees on the end there. I'm in silkweed in about 8 foot. I'm not worried about. I know the silkweed's only this high, and I know that the carp love to root around in the kind of muddier areas as opposed to the clean gravel. So there's a good kilo of bait right around it. So that's going to be showing up on the bottom. I'm quite happy with that rod. Right, well it's 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning, another blank night. You try and look back at all of the captures of the big carp that you know about, and you see most of them are in isolation to these small carp, which led me to moving. It just seems devoid of carp altogether, this area of the lake, which is quite possible. It's so much water for them to move around in. So I haven't had a touch. I had another problem with the iPhone. For some reason my iPhone has gone damp, and it won't turn off. I try and turn it off and it just comes back on straight away. Don't know if any of you have ever experienced that, but it's playing hell with my missus, and I'm having to explain to her that my phone's pretty much off all the time because the battery's died, and it's only when I can go back to the van and get it recharged, which means less communication, which means more stress when I get back. Unnecessary stress. She's very understanding. Lets me go away for 7 nights at a time, 2 or 3 times a year.